Welcome back to ELFSTER'S Rifles and Reloading. In Part 8, we're finally seating primers, especially after a long journey of brass prep. And we are getting so close to dropping that powder and seating those bullets. But before we can seat those bullets, I'm going to quick show you how to use this bullet comparator. Not so much for an AR, but for a bolt action, if you're trying to reload precision ammunition, I think it's important. Now if you're new to my vids, you've never seen my videos before, please stop, go to my YouTube channel, and check out the previous episodes that got us up to this point. And if you're sitting at your desktop right now, click on these links on the left and the right, and they will immediately take you to those episodes. And like I said before, if you enjoy my vids, please subscribe, like, and share. Enough said. Let's get this going. Now before we go through all of this, there are a few things I need to follow up on with the previous episode. So let me mention one last thing before we move on from the previous episode on brass prep. One thing you can do is uniform the flash hole, especially if you don't own a stainless steel media cleaner. If you're a bench rest rifle shooter or you're going for the ultimate precision in your ammunition, this can make a difference. But you know what? I've never done it. And if you want to do it, it's your time, it's not mine. Now in part 6, keep in mind, we are using full-length resizing dies. And if you're new, there's other methods and other dies that will size only the neck and other blah 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 type of ways of doing this. What I have found, and I've been there, I've done that, I like to keep it simple stupid. Full-length resizing dies, in my opinion, can 100% make precision ammunition. This should go without being said, but just to make sure we're on the safe side, your primer pockets 100% need to be dry. Okay, enough of this preliminary BS. Let's prime these 50 pieces of 7.62 Lake City brass. Primer flip tray. You're gonna need it if you're new. Remember, we're only doing 50 pieces. You're done. Now these aren't your mama's crochet needles. Small rifle primer, large rifle primer. These are your drop tubes, these are your pickup tubes. It's as simple as that. And right now, we are doing the large rifle primer. And I'm not gonna really do the small rifle primer. It's in essence the same thing. So let's get this going. Can't stress the importance of keeping your primer seating area clean as possible if you want this to go as smooth as possible. Man, don't forget to put this back in. If I had $1 for every time I lost this damn thing, good to go. Now there's really not much to seating the primer, as long as you keep this area clean and you do your brass prep correctly. If you don't do either one, this is going to be a nightmare. Now remember, in the previous episodes, we swaged, we reamed, we uniformed, and put that primer pocket through the second round of cleaning. So hopefully this should go as smooth as possible. So what you want when you seat the primer is to make sure that the primer seats just below flush. Damn near flush, just a smidge under. Now, if the primer seats too low, your firing pin's never gonna hit it. On the flip side of the coin, and is even worse, if the primer sticks out too far and you do your tabletop test and it wobbles once you seat the primer, you try to load that into your rifle, you can potentially get what's called a slam fire, and it's not good. Before you do any of this, do your homework on slam fires. It can be very dangerous. Now, if I'm not making spray and pray ammo or pistol ammunition, what I like to do when making precision ammunition is take the progressive nature completely out of my press. I'll manually feed it, I'll seat the primer, I'll manually take it back out, inspect it, make sure it's just below flush, it's not sticking out too far by doing a tabletop test, and we'll put it in my tray. The last thing you want your brass to do is to fall out of your progressive press and hit another piece of brass. Putting the smallest dent in this case mouth opening equals shaving off the copper jacket of your bullet once it's seated. Perfect. Now when you're seating primers, especially on this new Lake City brass, the primers are going to go in snug. And that's actually what you want. The more times you reload this ammunition, the more loose your primers are going to become. If it gets to a point when you're seating primers and there's no resistance on your press, it's time to trash that brass. And once it goes in your bad brass bin, it never comes back out. Now the amount of fires you put on your brass until you decipher when the primer pockets are loose is 100% up to you. And try saying bad brass bin 5 times in a row as fast as possible. I bet you can't do it. If you want another tip to make sure that your primers are seating just below flush, take a flashlight, point it down towards your bench like this, and you can tell, even in this video, they're perfect. Enough said, let's get back to priming this brass. Once I get to this point, baby your case mouth openings. So I'm not going to go through the 5.56. It's literally the same thing. If anything, it's easier. You're just seating a smaller primer. In this case, the lock and load, all you need to do is swap out these 2 parts for the small rifle, use a small rifle drop tube and pickup tube, and don't forget, put your brass in the trays once the primer's been seated. And don't forget your different shell plates. So that wraps up primers. Let's check out this bullet comparator. Now the headspace gauges and the bullet comparators use the same body and anvil. That's the only difference. With that said, let's get these out of the way. Now in this reloading series, for the 7.62, we're going to be reloading the 168 AMAX, and for the 5.56, 60 grain VMAX. Now if you're new to the game, you might want to just stick with recommended COL. COL, C-O-A-L, stands for cartridge overall length. Now the actual seated depth of your bullet is 100% up to you. Now the only real option other than COL when it comes to semi-automatic and you're working with magazines is to either seat the depth of the bullet to recommended COL or maximum magazine length. So I was a little hesitant about bringing any of this up in terms of playing around with different bullet seating depths. Playing around with these gauges is somewhat jumping down the never-ending rabbit hole of load development. When I say load development, I'm talking about bullet jumps, playing around with the headspace on your brass, and different powder drops. Now for 223 or 5.56, be honest with you, I've yet to encounter a rifle where even going up to maximum magazine length when seating the bullet has really ever been an issue. With that said, I'm just going to get this out of the way. Now on the other hand, for 7.62 or 308, some of these new 308 or 7.62 ARs coming out right now, especially like my old LMT Lewis Machine & Tool 7.62 AR that I used to own, had a crazy ultra tight chamber on that barrel. And more times than not, I was fine. Regardless of the bullet I was using, I could go up to maximum magazine length and be fine. But there were a few bullets out there, like the Sierra Game Kings, that not even at maximum magazine length, I'm talking about recommended COL, that the secant radius was so aggressive on that bullet that even under recommended coal, it was already touching the lands of the rifling in the barrel. Now, as much as I would love to use this Rock River Arms 308 AR as an example of how to use these particular tools, at least I found out with Rock River and this particular rifle that the throat on this thing is ultra deep. And when I mean ultra deep, it would seriously make Linda and Deep Throat blush. So in order to show you something as a better example with tighter tolerances, let me show you my new Mega 6.5 Creedmoor. It's like comparing a Cadillac to a Ferrari. Now, Hornady makes these special modified cases where the base of the brass has been drilled out and tapped so it can screw on the end of this bullet comparator rod. Now, this is 308-223, and in this example, just to show you how to use this tool, 6.5 Creedmoor. Now, when seating the bullet by ogive, whether it has a secant or tangent radius to the bullet, the name of the game is to simply push it out till the bullet touches the lands and stops. At that point, you know what the maximum allowed seating depth is. Now, you'll see this more with a bolt action than an AR, obviously because you're restricted to magazine length. But if it's possible, try to seat your bullets by ogive and not cartridge overall length. You'll get much more consistent seating results. And if you're new to the game, you're probably asking me the question, why? Why use all these tools when I can just make it short and simple and go off coal, cartridge overall length? Well, the problem is with that, you're going off the tip of the bullet. And the tips of the bullets are not always perfect. It can give you inconsistent seating depths. Most of the time, the bullet's going to get stuck on the lands, and it's not to worry. Knock it out with the end of a snake if you have one. Now, the bullet I'm using in the specific example in 6.5 Creedmoor is the 142 SMK. Now, what I like to do is try and take about 3 or 4 of these measurements and take the one that seems most consistent. Now, once I have that, I can actually clip this right into a PMag that I'm currently using. See if I can focus in here. Now, that's really damn close to maximum magazine overall length. Now, when reloading for a semi-automatic, you want to make sure that the bullet never touches the lands. You can get away with it with a bolt action, as you can feel the resistance while you close the bolt. But obviously with a semi-automatic, when it's rammed home with force, you don't have that luxury. So make sure you're off the lands. So now that we have the ogive measurement, let's see what the coal is. It's 2.829. Let's write that down. Now, with all that said, let's figure out the maximum coal for this PMag using this specific bullet. Insert the modified case, adjust it as needed so the actual bullet fits inside the magazine. Let's see what we come up with. 2.220. which is also about 2.817 coal. So what does all of this mean? Based on my rifle, on the ogive measurement 2.230, maximum magazine length ogive 2.220 equals a 0.010 jump. That's pretty damn good. Well, if you're new, I hope this all got you up to speed. And if not, this might be a good opportunity to do some more homework. With that said, stay tuned to part 9, where we drop powder and seat bullets, and eventually part 10, when we actually take this ammunition out on the range. If you like my vids, please subscribe, like, and share, and I'll see you next time.